we didn't start with the start screen, but I'm good with it.
There it
Welcome.
is.
Yeah, welcome to Echo Chamber, the session in between sessions. In this past session, this was the session in which we had a little inter-party discussion on whether you should steal people's houses, as well as should you kill someone else's pet. You know what I mean? So that was that session. So Rusty, I gotta call you out for it. We just started talking about it. What is Siddle's thought of the piece with the frost giants that was called towards the end?
Well, Siddle's player kind of fell asleep a little bit at one point there.
All
Uh,
right. But if we were to ignore that, would Siddle have still said, "Nah, this is a bad idea. We don't want peace with these guys right now."
yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think it's kind of a matter of we're going to have to face them one way or another, and I think that the more frost giants that know, hey, there's this group of people that's been attacking us, or not necessarily attacking us, but we've come to blows with this group of people a number of times that you know it's almost like they're going to prepare next time and okay, hey, maybe instead of having our frost giants travel in pairs, we're going to have them travel in trios or quartets or whatever you want to call it, just
Or, have another platoon of frost giants on the side waiting for that
exactly.
interaction to then flank.
Yeah, exactly. They don't know who we are, they don't know who the enemy is. They I don't even know what are the odds that more frost giants come and just find these corpses in the nearest future instead of oh hey, Ugg and Doug didn't come back, right?
I will play devil's advocate. If we would have let the quote unquote peace go, we possibly could have followed them back to wherever stronghold they were going, and
That is
so
true.
tactically we would at least know we wouldn't be able to attack it. That's a bad idea.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But it does give us the opportunity to kill the ant hill at its source type deal. You know what I mean?
That is a good point. That is a good point.
So that was Amrook's only thought process, and the reason he didn't jump into attack because I'm complete agreement with Siddle there that calling for peace. Maybe we should have tried it in some other situations, and I'm happy we're looking at things that way now. But uh, I don't. Number one, I don't want to go to the Von and Dodd and dig it up for them.
Yeah.
And then number two, I don't want to get attacked from behind. So I mean, you just have to weigh your options there. And so I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that Cyril did the attack, but at the same time, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and I'm curious too if oh gosh, what's his name? The quote unquote friendly frost giant,
Harshnag.
Harshnag. I'm wondering too if, maybe Harshnag knows where their stronghold is or, you know,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
general
Uh,
whereabouts. I still don't know if he's someone that we can totally trust if we find him. I mean, if those soldiers in Xanthar's are to be believed, he had murder in his eyes, and they were still afraid of getting in his way, even though they were, even though he was attacking, enemy frost giants. But
okay, so since you brought up Harshnag, I was gonna bring it up. I was letting everybody like simmer about it, but here's my theory. I'm all about the theories with this. Uh, I think Harshnag had a thing for the Queen that was mentioned. They had a little thing, and that's why they don't mind humans. But then I think that that was found out about, and the human part was found out about, and she was punished, and that's why he's against giants.
okay,
I think that would make great storyline, Garrett, if you're listening, or if you go back and listen. I think that would be awesome. I don't know if it's part of the storyline, but that's my theory.
that's certainly an interesting one. Maybe a little bit more of a personal reason that he's against them than.
I mean, because you have to think about why would he be against his own kind? It doesn't make sense, right? There has to be a reason, and that one, from what we know so far, makes the most sense. So if we run into him, we should mention the queen and just see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Another thing is, so we're in this battle. I know it's only two frost giants, but I think back to only two fire giants, right? And we ended up like a little sore, a little beat up, and had to spend some stuff to stay alive. Is that going to be the situation? And then we have to go back to town, and then that oh, I forget his name. I am horrible with names. That guy comes and tells us that, hey, those people you were looking for are in town, and we're like, fuck, we're all out of spell slots. What do we do? So I
Yeah.
I think we snowballed ourselves a little bit. So I don't know. That could be another point for the piece, but I don't know if that would have been a great option because of the possibilities after. And I mean, could go either way. I guess you never know. But uh, either way, we may have to spend the spell slots and everything else to do this, and then end up going back to the Crusty Troll to confront the S Society people, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I'm almost wondering if well, I don't think that a lot of our characters could get away with it, but hey, do we camp out in the woods and take our rest, replenish our spell slots, etc. out there? But it is a tidbit nipply for that, I think.
I mean, Amrook's very comfortable in his owlbear coat and everything, so I mean, he wouldn't mind,
If
but
you can spoon with Siddle, then sure.
uh, Amrook would share. That's all I'm saying.
All right, all right.
I think I don't know. Part of me is like short rest and keep it going because we don't necessarily have to fight these two, right? Like we can there are other ways around it. We can kind of just observe for the first night. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And kind of follow and that type of stuff. We don't have to go straight into battle. And who's to say there is even going to be a battle? I think we need a little bit more information. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I just know this group and that's tough to say not having those and then going into a situation. Do you think
Excellent point.
what's that?
That's an excellent point.
Do you think the frost giants that we encountered south of Luskin are different from the frost giants that we encountered on the river? Because I believe the frost giants on the river were on the north side of the river. That's not to say they're a frost giant; they can't cross. But now these ones are down here. Do we think they're two different sets? And then why are they so spread out? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? What do you think?
So, couple of points of checking my memory. Did we get a ping on the Vanandad rods when we were south of the city, not when we were on the river? We got some in this little bombed out village, right?
Correct. Now, that's not to say that. So he did it shortly after. So we were about three-quarters of the way to Luskin at that point, and he, uh, spider climbed onto the other boat and checked it, and it didn't work out. And then once we exited Luskin, he did it again and got a ping. So now that's not to
Oh,
say that if you had gone a couple miles north of the river that you wouldn't have got a ping as well.
right. And then I'm trying to think of the map here, and then timeline wise, would they have had enough time to, if they were the same frost giants, would there have been sufficient time for them to make that trip? We weren't that far out of town when we encountered them, correct?
Yeah, but we also slept that night. I mean,
That's true.
yeah,
And I don't know what they need as far as sleep and such. So, they could have just trekked it right on through and called it a day.
right. I don't know. I feel like it's a different party, but I also know that they're very tactical. So I think that they're somehow connected with that party. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would also like to know more about the five high captains that were brought up this session. I think that's uh, interesting. We haven't heard about the five high captains before, um, and it just I don't know how it fits in story wise. I'm just I do so. One, I think we should investigate how the ghouls or whatever else of the ruins around the city came to be. Because I mean, obviously, somebody's casting or somebody's doing something to keep that in check, uh,
Yeah,
but still keep it there. So how did it come to be? You know, it's kind of like the White Walkers and stuff beyond the wall. Like you
yeah,
know they're there, but they're beyond the wall.
yeah, yeah, and that was something that was really interesting. The whole like, hey, there's just these beings that, yeah, we're not necessarily sure if they're friendly or not. Uh, they're also, helping us out. So,
Yeah. Um, I mean, Luskin is not the uh, best town. I mean,
oh
if
yeah,
any town, you know, Neverwinter and Luskin would probably let it happen. But if this
yeah,
were Phandalin or you know Tribor, probably wouldn't go.
right, right. Yeah, I mean, this is, I don't remember if it was Eric or Garrett, but someone said, yeah, this is Mos Eisley. Like, never find a, worse pit of scum and villainy in the galaxy.
Right. Exactly. Uh, I do also like to say that I love the the town in names. The Crusty Troll, the, the something Swallow, I forget, the Sleeping Swallow,
Yeah,
and in the previous ones, what was the
there was
Pran? No,
something with a minotaur as well.
the Hissing Minotaur, uh,
Yeah.
the Threatening Butterfly. I mean, I just like the names. I mean,
So so a lot of the it seems like a lot of the names, and these could have been ones that Garrett just came up with, or he might just have a list of them, whatever. Really quick sidebar. So like a lot of the old, English pubs have not necessarily similar names, but names that are just like, the gentleman skunk or shit like that. It was all done so because a lot of the populace was illiterate when when these places were founded. And so it was made so that you could have a very descriptive pictogram to show,
yeah.
what the
So
name of the pub is.
like the Prancing Pony. I get it. Okay, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
All
It's like,
right.
oh yeah, you may not be able to read Prancing Pony, but you see a pony prancing along on the sign, then okay, yeah, that must be the place that Bob asked me to come meet him at for a drink.
Yeah, so I guess that makes sense. And maybe, you know, if Garrett didn't create them, which I don't think he created, like the threatening butterfly and some of the other ones that we've encountered, so maybe the creators of the Sword Coast and stuff like that followed that
Mhm.
similar naming convention. So that's kind of a cool bit of, you know, real life bleed over into.
Yeah,
Uh,
good inspiration kind of thing, right? But
right, right. No, that is really cool. Uh, so, one more thing, I would feel remiss if I didn't talk about how does Siddle feel about getting the gauntlets back?
big strong man.
Yeah, exactly. I think Siddle's brain shrunk a little bit when he put
I
them
think so.
on,
Yeah.
but it's worth it. So let me ask you this, and we had some in-depth conversations afterwards, and I think everybody understands, but I wanted to see your side of it since we didn't get a chance to talk to you. Does Siddle want the gauntlets to basically, you know, min-max the party holistically, as opposed to Grizz having them to min-max Grizz's DPS and stuff?
Yeah, that was kind of my thing was that, my strength before was absolute garbage. It was I believe that without the gauntlets it's 9. And so, that could very easily end up with me being the weak link in the chain for, like an athletics check or something like that where, oh yeah, everyone else is probably pretty good to, make it over that crevasse or whatever. But
I mean,
you
let's
know,
face it, Grizz is going to fail it either way, with or without the gauntlets. We've
yeah,
proven that with all of the rope climbing.
that man needs a serious dice jail.
You know what? Sometimes it's just like that. We call them story dice.
Yeah.
Mordai is the same way, right? When Garrett plays Mordai and he's doing this, it's just he can't help it.
Yep.
So, and then all of a sudden you'll see, like when you absolutely need that nat 20, you need that high roll, it'll happen and it'll be that much more exciting.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. We've had some in-depth conversations about it. Personally, Carl, not Amrook, feels to holistically min-max the party is better. Again, so like you said, so we
Great.
don't have that weak link. But I do see the other side, and like, so I think in a borderline situation, you should just like if your strength was like okay, I would say just let him have it. But if your
Yeah.
strength is that shit, then I get it. Now, if we get
Yeah.
another strength item, obviously that's where it would probably go. But at the
Yeah.
same time,
Absolutely.
Eric brought up a good point for me. Uh, so if you're trying to min max a single person's damage, why wouldn't the gauntlets go to Amrook since he also has the Giant Slayer?
Oh, I didn't think about that.
I didn't either, and well, I did, but I kind of brushed it off because I really didn't care about the gauntlets. I didn't want them. Like my strength is a +3, and it would make it a +4. I don't care. But in so for Grizz, it's the same thing, right? His is a +3, makes it a
Right.
+4. His is a 18 right now. I think it makes it a 19 with the gauntlets, which gives him a
Yeah.
+4. So I get that aspect, but if you're going by that, then in theory, Amrook should have it so that when we fight the giants, he has a better chance to hit. He's maximizing his damage.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
I
Amrook
was thinking
attacks
that,
more often, so it would also make more sense there.
yeah. And I was looking at it mostly on um, mostly from like a non-combat kind of lens. And completely forgot about, yeah, the fact that you've got the Giant Slayer, which makes, as much damage as we can do with that would be, is obviously, a great thing.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, I
I should
mean,
just give him to Amrook one of these sessions just to piss Chris off.
that is an awesome idea, but I don't think Amrook wants them. He doesn't want any part of them. But Carl wants for that exact reason. I think that's awesome.
So going back to the hissing minotaur thing,
Hmm.
um, so I just want to address how excited Grizz was when he thought that that was an actual minotaur.
So you're gonna admit to it right now?
I'm going to admit to it right now.
Yeah. No, I knew someone was messing with him. I just didn't know who. And then all of a sudden I look over to the Twitch chat. Okay, Voyage. Oh, it's awesome. No,
Yeah,
so you just mage hand then?
yeah. As soon as he rolled shit on his perception check to see if it was a real minotaur or not, I'm over here messaging the DM. I'm
That's
going to cast
awesome.
Mage Hand. I'm just
Uh,
gonna pick the arm up and move it around a little bit, just so that he sees some realism there.
yeah, no, that's awesome. And since I know Keegan's not going to watch this, I'll admit to it as well. And I freaking loved it. That I used the Wand of Scowls on him, and I tried to play into it so hard,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
probably more me than Amrook to be honest, but I couldn't help it. I could not help it. Uh, so I've been back and forth on whether we should exclaim out loud that we are doing it, and that person just has to know that their character doesn't know what's going on. But after doing it this way, I can say internally it's more funny. It's probably less funny to watch being a viewer, but it is more funny as a player to do it this way. I'll give credit for that.
One of my other favorite things too is just like, who did that? Which one of you guys did that? Just because Why would I know it either? But then I think about like, okay, if we have an in-person session, how do we do that without just saying like, "Hey Garrett, I'm gonna cast Mage Hand."
Yeah, so I think that's the difference between like well, one of the differences between remote and in person. Because in person, you're gonna slide someone a post-it note, and somebody's gonna know right after that it's gonna right. So I just slid Garrett this post-it note. All of a sudden, Warwick is scowling. I wonder what happened there, right? Or I have to say it out loud.
Yeah,
So. Uh, yeah, so I will give credit to Garrett and Ryan for convincing me to try out actually just whispering the action because it is more fun as a player. Uh, and I'll give credit to being able to do it on Roll20. You know what I mean?
yeah,
As
yeah,
opposed
absolutely.
to the in-person. So if the in-person session, if in the in-person session I decided to use Wand of Scowls again, Keegan's at that point going to know.
At the same time, I guess a lot of us still do keep our character sheets on the computer, even in person,
Through Roll20, yeah. Well,
through
I
Roll20.
mean,
So I mean, we could still do it that way in person, but
we could. Um, yeah, I guess we haven't really worked out those logistics yet. It depends. So, if we're all there, which Keegan won't be there, but if we were all there, I would say, it might take away from the in-person part of it.
yeah,
But if it's hybrid, then, it's kind of needed. Uh,
yeah.
I don't know. I could go either way. I mean, I like that. I do like the battle map and having something physical there with
Oh,
the
absolutely.
miniatures
And
and stuff like
it's
that,
hard to compare with rolling actual dice too.
for sure. Yeah, so I'm gonna bring my dice tray with my dice.
Oh yeah,
So I'm
I've
excited
got
to do that.
I've got these fun new glass ones to try out too.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You did show pictures. So did you get those? You got those online, or did you guys make them with the resin?
No, so these I got online. These are actually glass. I fell for a fucking ad on Instagram. Um, my favorite thing, and I don't know if the camera's going to really pick this up, but
No, I
not at
see.
all.
I see. I'm assuming it's the Nat 20 or the Nat 1. What is it?
The Nat 20 is fuck you. The Nat 1 is fuck me.
All right, I like it. I like it. No, that's cool. I mean, those were like crystal clear. I was thinking when you sent that picture, I was thinking they were like resin. But no, those are crystal clear. That's
Yeah,
pretty
they're
cool.
like glass. So I got to make sure I roll them on a tray and not like directly on a hard ass table.
Yeah,
Because I'll
or
either
so.
damage the table or break the dice. So
Well, yeah, or you're rolling them on the table and they roll off and hit the floor. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
crack. He doesn't have tile down there. I was gonna say, crack someone's tile floor or something like that. But
let's see. No, it's like a.
laminate or something, right? I think.
Well, he replaced it not too long ago, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
similar.
Anyway.
Yeah. But all right. Well, that concludes most of my notes. Do have a couple more things, and I do want to circle back to the five high captains, as well as a little bit more about Harshnag. But I think it's 8:30, so you know what that means. It's time for Magic Item of the Week.
All right. Got a couple of fun ones up here this afternoon, evening, whatever the fuck it is. First one we have up is the Nature's Mantle. This is a relatively new one out of Tasha's. Uh, Uncommon, wondrous item, requires attunement and can only be used by a druid or a ranger. This cloak shifts. So I've had a lot of cloaks lately that I've discussed, but this is all random, I swear. So this cloak shifts color and texture to blend with the terrain surrounding you. While wearing the cloak, you can use it as a spell casting focus for your druid and ranger spells. While you are in an area that is lightly obscured, you can hide as a bonus action, even if you are being directly observed. So this is just a chameleon cloak, essentially, or
That's pretty cool.
invisibility cloak, almost.
Yeah. Huh. All right. No, that one's pretty cool. I kind of like that aspect of limiting who, like the class that can use it. I kind of like that. Like I start to think about that. What if Ogre Gauntlet the ogre gauntlets were class limited, you know what I mean? Then you could ensure that people don't min max like their AC or different stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
that was kind of the first one I've come across that's like, hey, you can use it in this class or this class, and that's it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, huh. No, I like that, and I think, I mean, we don't have any rangers at this time, unless somebody decides to multi-class in their ranger, and then decides to go giant hunter as that part of their class. But anyway, so the only one that would be able to use it in our party would be Adrian.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But I think that could be a pretty useful one for him though, because I mean, he ends up being a target of stuff fairly often, I think, and
I think
being able to hide in plain sight as your bonus action, that's awesome.
so. I think Adrian puts himself in between on purpose
Hmm.
as a distraction quite a bit, and
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't get to talk about this. So Amruk didn't throw a single punch this entire last battle, and that was more strategic. So thought it was, yeah,
Hmm.
I could see that being useful for Adrin for sure. Huh. All right, what else we got?
All right. Next up, Amulet of Proof Against Detection and Location. This does require attunement. While wearing this amulet, you are hidden from divination magic. You can't be targeted by such magic or perceived through magical scrying sensors. So
Yeah.
this is like your secure telephone line, essentially.
Right. So basically, with scrying, you cast it and you present an invisible orb that follows whoever you scry on. And with this, it kind of, as the orb comes up, it's dispelled basically.
Yep.
So pretty cool. Have seen this one used before for that very reason, to make sure that they couldn't be spied on. Which, I mean, I
So
guess that kind of has to be like part of the story, or maybe we're being scryed on and we don't even know it at this time. You know what I mean?
wasn't there something that came up recently where we were like, is someone who the fuck would have known this?
There was.
And
That.
I think it was the cartographer that would have known, but I don't remember what he would have known.
So it was. It was a mixture of things. I think we were kind of like on edge about how did they know where to find us as we went to the dragon lair? Because like, who did we tell?
Yes.
And we told Sildar that approximate location, and then there was something else that came up about that cartographer, and who did he tell type deal,
Yeah.
but I don't remember what that one was.
Oh, the man, the myth, the legend.
The man, the myth, the legend himself.
So
Uh
speaking of the Lord's Alliance and Sildar,
oh. Okay.
I still don't know if we should or could or can trust them.
Why?
I think that I've kind of built it into character just as a little bit of a paranoia kind of thing, just because of memory loss, all that stuff. That you know, what if these are the bad guys?
I get that, and honestly, Amrok thinks about everybody. So
Yeah,
he every town we go to, he is constantly like, is that the big bad? Is that the person who's in charge of these giants?
yeah. Can this person be trusted with anything we tell or ask or whatever?
So
And Siddle having been sent to his death by this mysterious society. What if they're in bed with the Lord's Alliance?
that's true. I
You know,
mean, you know what? You're probably not far off with that theory, but all right. So here's my take. At Devil's Advocate again, is there's the Lord's Alliance, the Harpers. There's a couple more of these cults. I mean, these groups. Um, and I think they all act as a system of checks and balances for each other. So I feel like one of them would know if the other group. So it's probably, in my opinion, and I could be completely wrong, it's probably more likely that if it is something with the Lord's Alliance, that the S Society is just invading
Yes.
them.
Yes.
All right,
Oh,
can you guys hear me this time?
we sure
We got you.
can. The man, the myth,
Fantastic.
the legend, the DM
My
himself.
apologies, gentlemen.
No
You
apology
threw me off with the
necessary.
Thursday. I forgot all about it. I'm out of my routine.
It happens, It was my fault this week, but we mix it up isn't bad. We have discussed doing a Thursday session with the DM corner recently. I'd be down. That's all I'm saying.
We have. Fantastic. I'm excited. I got a few ideas for it.
All right. We'll have to talk after. But so Rusty just was giving us magic items of the week, and he gave us. Go ahead, Rusty. I'll let you recap them.
So first one was Nature's Mantle, which is essentially I'm going to call it a chameleon cloak. So if you're in an area that's lightly obscured, you can use that to hide as a bonus action. And something particularly interesting about that item, though, is that it can only be used by a druid or a ranger. So we kind of went into, some things about, limitations on some items like that to keep, kind of keep things from being too overpowered, etc.
Yeah, to keep
Um,
somebody
Yep.
from maxing out their AC.
Makes sense.
the
Interesting.
next
I hadn't
one
heard of that one before.
you have not.
No, that was a new one for me.
Yeah, that was a neat one. The next one is Amulet of Proof Against Detection and Location.
Ah,
So
yes,
essentially,
yes.
it hides you from divination magic. So you can't be perceived through scrying sensors, things like that.
Yep, that's a good one. Not a common one. Not one that not a lot of people know about.
Yeah, I think that's something too that you'd almost have to use it as like the. Well, I guess it requires attunement, though, doesn't it? Yes, it
Yes.
does. To say you'd almost have to use it as like the talking stick, right? Because the scrying sensor could still stay, next to everybody. Because it doesn't say that it makes the scrying sensor go away, but the person who is wearing the amulet
I'm
cannot be scryed upon.
I'm pretty sure it dispels.
Ah,
So I don't know. It just all it says is while wearing this amulet, you are hidden from divination magic. You cannot be targeted by such magic or perceived through magical scrying sensors.
So you can't be targeted by. So therefore, if the person tries to scry on you and they're trying to target you, and therefore it fails.
yeah. So if you were the point of the target of the scrying, you could
Now
you would
that's
eliminate it.
it.
So
Where
I
where
thought,
where that falls apart is where a party of seven, and so they try and scry on me, but I have the amulet. They just go scry on Adrin.
because the scrying the scrying sensor is basically just a hidden microphone, essentially, right?
It has a visual component as well.
Okay.
And there, oh, it's been a little while since I've read up on this, so I'm a little rusty. But I think there's some limitations to what you can select for your target. I mean, they would have to know to be able to select all seven of you.
You have to
Uh,
be you have to have some knowledge of. It's kind of like was it
Sending.
message sending? Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like sending, in which you have to have knowledge of the target, and then so I mean, in some cases it can go as lenient as if you have somebody in your party who can disguise themselves as that person, now you know what they look like, so now you can use it against them. So it's kind of DM discretion on those things, I think. Um,
okay, okay.
God, I kind of thought scrying was like a here you attach this sensor to someone or whatever, and it hears everything within a 20-foot radius. Or I yeah, I think I had a misunderstanding of how scrying works exactly.
Yeah, no, it's more magic ballish.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a tunnel vision. Like you can
Crystal ball.
see
That's what I was looking for.
so you can You can scry on a person, you can scry on a place, or you can scry on an item, I think. And
Hmm.
so like if you knew that they were in this tavern, you could scry on that tavern and get a little bit bigger picture, or you could scry on the person and kind of everything else around it. You don't get a full. You would do a perception check, but I don't think you
Yeah.
get like a full big picture type deal.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
What else you got? What's the third one?
All right. Third one is the plate armor of etherealness.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. This does require attunement. While you're wearing this armor, you can speak its command word as an action to gain the effect of etherealness spell, which lasts for 10 minutes or until you remove the armor or use an action to speak the command word again. This property of the armor can't be used again until the next dawn. Uh, Plate consists of shaped interlocking metal pieces to cover the entire body. A suit of plate includes gauntlets, heavy leather shoes, a visored helmet, and thick layers of padding underneath the armor. Buckles and straps distribute the weight over the body. And just to go into etherealness, so etherealness, you step into the border regions of the ethereal plane in the area where it overlaps with your current plane. You remain in the border ethereal for the duration or until you use your action to dismiss the spell. During this time, you can move in any direction. If you move up or down, every foot of movement costs an extra foot. You can see and hear the plane you originated from, but everything there looks gray and you can't see anything more than 60 feet away. While on the ethereal plane, you can only affect and be affected by other creatures on that plane. Creatures that aren't on the ethereal plane can't perceive you and can't interact with you unless a special ability or magic has given them the ability to do so. You ignore all objects and effects that aren't on the ethereal plane, allowing you to move through objects you perceive on the plane you originated from. So essentially, let you be a ghost for 10 minutes.
Yeah. So I was thinking something similar to like phase spiders, right?
Yep, very similar.
Hmm. That's kind of cool. So if you needed to get through a trap or something, you could use it. Um, Probably wouldn't use it in the chase or the case of phase spiders because then you're stuck in that realm with them.
Yep.
Uh,
You go hunting phase spiders.
you could do it if you were very low HP and you just needed to wait until the rest of the party got there, I guess. Hmm. All right.
It
Some
kind of
uses
kind of an
there.
interesting one for what's that?
Some uses there for sure.
Yeah, definitely pretty specific use cases though. I think.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. All right. Well, thank you, Rusty, for the magic items of the week. We'll jump into the next section, uh, but know that we don't have the stats from this past week. So we have the stats from the encounter on the river, and we now have the stats from the the one right outside the dragon pit. But
Mhm.
we'll get the next one,
Oh
or we'll
yeah.
get those last ones once that fight finishes up, because we were kind of mid-battle when we ended. So with that, I
Stats
gotta
check.
had to put it up on the screen. Uh, all right, so stats chat. Let me go ahead and turn on that. We can do a quick stats chat. So, uh, unfortunately, Siddle, I know you're over 1,000 now, and you actually might be beating Amrook because he didn't throw a single punch this past time. In fact, I think you are beating Amrook. Uh, but in these stats, you do not quite break 1,000. I'm actually excited. We have two party members that are over a K damage. I think that's pretty awesome,
I know we need a little medal or something for it to signify you're in the thousand damage club.
right? I mean, when I look at this funnel chart, I can't help but notice that Grizz only has 400 damage. I mean, he's got 10 more than Adrin, don't get me wrong, but I don't understand. And maybe that's
He
just
may
because
have
I'm
been the first
playing
to
a
take a
fighter.
thousand damage though.
You know what? We should probably look at that. Let's take a sec since you brought it
That's
up.
right, because we can find out. We've got the stats.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I think we might be able to do it right there. Hold on. Let me go back there. and we'll switch this to being attacked by. And
He
there
has
you go.
taken 465. I'm seeing.
465, yeah. Didn't even have to switch the screen. I just switched that over.
Well,
Thank
look at
you.
that.
Eric, you're not here, but thank you. 465, and as we go down the line, Siddle is at like half of that, but has done triple the damage. Is that just the story dice, or what's
Now,
happening there?
is that damage taken
Yes,
or damage target? Okay, so not damage targeted because we already know that
his dodge rate is
Griswold's
crazy, off the
hit percentage. Yeah,
charts.
his dodge rate's insane. So he's easily been targeted then by a couple thousand hit points. So he's absorbing those attacks, and I think that's the key. He's been absorbing those attacks, and I think the perfect example is that this last session, the number of rocks that went his way. I think Amrook only took one, and I don't know if anybody else took another rock. Uh,
The boulders were not flying this time, and I don't know if that was good spell placement. Again, with that fog cloud, I think that fog cloud throws you off your game.
it's effective.
Yeah.
Especially with the little homebrew ruling that I threw in there about the randomization of the dice. They just meander through that fog cloud. It
Okay,
gets
so
tough to get out. Entire turns lost.
I wanted to ask about that because you roll each step, right? But
Yep.
so my thought as you were doing it, I was kind of like, huh, that's what he's doing. And I realized what you were doing because they would go north and south and they might go back and forth. Do you give them like some sort of advantage on that, or some sort of, if they hear a voice out there, they can head in one direction towards that voice, or how do you do that?
So I have not yet. I threw the voice out there last time, and then realized I had no system in place for it with it. So I thought it was too extreme with the voice to go straight towards it. I feel like there should be some type of advantage, but to date, I'll be honest, I have not put anything in place to to utilize that fact. And an advantage doesn't really make sense because then do I choose the best route based on what I know as DM, which might make sense. I don't know. Just it was a bit intriguing, and I was thinking about that last time. As I said to me, as the other frost giant, and then I realized, well, what the hell happens now?
Yeah,
So here's
that.
a.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So here's a thought on a way to do kind of directionality like that, and it does kind of add a little bit of complication. But um, what if you did, instead of a D4, for like, hey, I've got no voice, I've got no like rushing waterfall, whatever. Um, you do a D8, and so then you do north, south, east, west, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, etc. And then if they have a sound whatever to listen towards, then you switch it to a D4, and you just do, so if the sound was like to the north, for instance, you would do northwest, north, northeast, and east on your D4, where you kind of have
That's
like a
cool.
rolling section of the compass.
Right, yeah,
Yep,
no. That's an
I
interesting.
got you.
So they're
Yeah, I'm not
kind of
opposed to that either.
heading in the correct direction to the sound, but they might be off, one way or
Yeah.
the other. I like that. That's a good
Yeah, that's not a
compromise.
bad idea at all.
And my other question to that was, do you find it effective to roll each step, or do you find it more effective to roll first step and then continue down the path, or is that based on the intelligence of the creature?
So I thought about this too, and I went for realism right off the bat as we were navigating Fog Cloud on roll 20. If we were doing Temple of the Mind, Fog Cloud goes up, you Amrook don't know where it's at, and you're like, well, I'm gonna try moving north 5 feet. In my mind, I know where you are. You have no visual because you already have an overview of the screen. You kind of know what direction to go. So I was trying to create that idea of randomness of Amrook that you do not know. And I thought about being in the dark, and I thought about being in the woods before, and you really can just walk in circles really easily. It's tough to maintain straight when you have no point of reference. So I wanted it to do every step just to truly encompass that randomness, and it's truly done that and made Fog Cloud more effective because you can't just head out in one direction until you're out of it, because then essentially it's 20 feet and you're there. So you're only killing the movement of one turn. And I think Fog Cloud should be more effective than that, personally, based on the way it's been used. So I like the randomness of every step, and I think it's played out that way. But I think the idea of an advantage of some type, either with the way Rusty put it, or just handling an advantage, and I get to choose which of the two roles I take, might be a better way to go moving forward. So it's not as effective because I mean it's multiple turns being lost in there sometimes, and just circles being done with the randomness of the die.
Right. Or throw an alternative out there. It's based on the
Please.
intelligence of the character. Higher intelligence means you have a better chance at going straight. So higher intelligence means, you're only rolling that d4.
So maybe you
That's
do
not a
like
bad idea either.
if your intelligence is over X, then you can roll and take 2 steps or something and be going straight for 2 steps instead of just one.
Yeah, that would work too. Or
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like if I'm in that situation of pitch black darkness, you know, I might go full bore one way, just like I'm booking it. But if I run into something, now I'm fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because that's really your only
Yeah.
way of going straight in that darkness is you're just like plowing one direction.
Yeah, arm out, and I'm gonna walk until I find something.
Exactly.
And that might be it. Maybe I'll set up a little tier system, make it nice and easy. We'll have the chart for reference. That way, in case any character PC's caught in the fog cloud as well, that intelligence over X, under X, 1 die per move. Over X, 2 die. Over higher X, 3 die. Or sorry, three moves per die, and 2 moves per die. So the
Oh,
higher your
okay.
intelligence, the further you move straight.
Yeah, that
So the
was that was
smarter you
exactly.
are.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly what you're going for, Rusty. With Carl, your idea with Rusty's adjustment, and I think that might be a more effective way to go.
we did have some players that found themselves in the fog cloud in when we were fighting those kobolds, right?
Yeah.
Uh, yep, and the Onis.
Yeah,
Was that Darkness? I think that was Darkness.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think it's
Yeah,
either.
that one was Darkness up on the
Yeah.
plateau.
Yep.
Althea and Odun.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because Althea fell off. She got out of it by walking one. She chose which direction she wanted to move because I didn't tell her where the end of it was. That one I handled a little bit differently at the time. I could play it as a PC, and then I did not tell her where darkness was. She chose a direction randomly each time until she eventually got out, and she fell over twice. Odun managed to just get out in time without falling over a cliff.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that. So that's interesting. I like it. I like the realism that it adds, and we were just talking about some of that real life bleeding into the game with the naming of the inns and establishments, the hissing minotaur and this sleeping swallow and different stuff like that, and the threatening butterfly. And then Rusty was telling me about the idea in, old English times or whatever he said,
Mhm.
that they would name the establishments something extravagant so they could match a picture to it, so that anybody who was illiterate could then recognize the building by the pictogram rather than being able to read the sign.
Ah, interesting. I wasn't aware of that bit of history.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wasn't either, and I thought, maybe that's where some of the inspiration came from for these names.
And the inspiration comes from that mentality. I guess it's just carried down from you hear the old taverns, and they always have similar type names. So I just maintain that motif. So I guess indirectly I carried it on without knowing why.
Yeah, so cool stuff. But so you mentioned Griswold and Rusty. I know you have to go soon, so I just wanted to jump over to his dodge percentage has actually dropped recently to 64%. It was like at an 80% there for a while.
Interesting.
Yeah, so, but I mean, he's still taking 73 of those attacks. So if we were to narrow this down, I would like to see if we came back. This would be a bad one to look at, but if we were to just pick, let's go with the Weevil in Town, and yeah, Weevil in Town, you would see like he's got 50% dodge rate. He took 10 of those hits at an average damage of 10 damage per hit. That's 50 damage that could have potentially happened to, or sorry, 100 damage that could have potentially happened to him. As opposed to if we were to look at, Siddle at the same time. So that's Siddle for the Weevil. He got attacked twice, and that would have only been 42 damage. So I think you're onto something there, Garrett, when you're saying that his dodge percentage comes into play with this chart. But I still don't understand why his.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think we're in complete agreement that his hit points are still far lower than they should be. I found it very interesting this last battle. He did almost very little damage, but I know for a fact that he took at least 3. I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 boulders. Of those rolls, it was like 16, 19, 18, and 21 or something like that. Almost all of them would have hit everyone else in the party for between 24 and 40 points of damage, and yet none hit on Griswold. They all missed. So I was like, oh, holy heck, he is absorbing the attacks, not delivering, but he's absorbing a lot considering his position.
It is comical and to watch, because if you go back and watch, Amrook ran around to stay out of sight, but to get in a position to distract, Reed ran around to get in a position to attack and not be seen, and Griswold ran right out into the middle. and I remember Ryan and I talking about it after, and was like, he just ran right out there. and part of me wonders if it was purpose to absorb those attacks, and then part of me thinks it was just Evan just running out there. So I don't know.
Heading out and then pausing. Am I a
Yeah.
front liner or am I a back liner? Let me attack and then hold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, did he just go Leroy Jenkins on it?
Exactly. And then change his mind mid-attack.
And I go back to this chart that I made. Oh, I don't have him up here.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to distract from the stats chat.
No, you're good.
I
You're
pulled
good.
away here.
I go back to this chart, and I think if you start looking at these, so these are the number of attacks. He's got such a low number of attacks, and I feel that is why his damage is so low. I mean, we look at the flip side for Amrook's attacks. He's got at least 5 or 6 attacks per round or per session, whereas if we were to average this, Grizz has 4 or 5 there with 1 attack. You know what I mean? And then if we look at Siddle's damage, let me find him. His are low attacks, but they're very high AoE damage. So.
So I'm not picking on Griswold here, but that's intriguing now. I'm thinking back to the battle, and I can't remember for the life of me what he even did. He wasn't within melee of just about anybody until that wolf at the end. Well, now I'm a bit intrigued because you're right. I mean, I know Amrook gets more attacks per round, but you think about it, he's not not to harp on it, but he's not casting Bless, so he's not throwing support spells out there, and he's not attacking.
Bless gets
so what the
mentioned
heck is he
every
doing?
time, so thank you for bringing it up.
I wasn't sure if you already had the check mark in for the day, so I had to throw it out there since we don't have the gauntlet count anymore.
No, but we did talk about the gauntlets as well, so I think we're just hitting all the points all together.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I would be interested to see what would happen if those number of attacks went up. If because Griswold he's in this transitional period where he's like, I want to be tanky, I want to be a support, I want to be a backliner, and it's almost like it's a hybrid build that's concerned with min-maxing everything. And you end up getting nothing. You know what I mean?
All right.
I would agree with that.
Thank you for all of our
So
watchers.
you gonna run, Rusty?
Thank you, Rusty. We're about to end it anyway, but thanks for being here.
Thanks for holding down the fort, Rusty.
Go ahead and fix that real quick. Yeah, go ahead and say what you were going to say, though.
Me? I was just gonna say, you're absolutely right. It's between builds. There's And I know even behind the scenes that's similar to what the issue is right now. It's who is Griswold? Uh, how does Griswold attack? Who is Griswold at the core?
Right, and I think
So,
back to like the Goodberry battle. If you remember the Goodberry battle, he was in the thick of it, and he was trying to attack everything. And so I
yeah,
wish we had the stats from them to see the fighting trends and when
I
we
know.
saw that change in the actual playstyle. Because honestly, it's a fighting style, it's a playstyle difference, and I think that's the difference. And if we look at Althea's, I think we see a similar pattern. Where is she? She should be at the top. Yeah, if we look at Althea's, similar pattern to Grizz's,
Yep.
pretty much identical. And
That's
if you look at Althea's damage, it's pretty crazy how that corresponds too. So got to get in there and attack more if you want more DPS. Or like Warwick's is low as well, but that's because he is support. He's playing a bard character.
yes, and he plays that pretty well with the support spells.
The portents, everything else. Yeah.
Yep. But no, Thea's another interesting one, and she's a little newer, of course, with her character. So it's less developed than Griswold is. The so she's still finding Althea and who Althea is, since she was so late to the game to attack. I mean, she really started when these stats did. But Griswold made such a big turn versus early on in the game when he was, like you said, he jumped right into the thick of things. There's three guys. Well, I'm going to the center of them.
Right, yeah, and I think of like Siddle's or Rusty's playstyle, like even Grudhog when he was supposed to hold back a third level spell slot to cast Sending, he didn't. He cast Fireball
Yep.
instead, and it could have hindered us a lot. But that's the type of fighting style in which you're going to have a higher DPS.
Absolutely.
So, although Command and Compelled Duel and these other things are pretty cool, at the end of the day, they are support, right? Bless. I'll mention it again. They're really cool, but at the end of the day, they're support. So I guess you have to kind of define the fighting style for that character. And maybe Grizz has become more of a support. Who knows?
Yeah, and I almost feel maybe this is purely gut. The more Amrook has become a frontliner, and the more aggressive Amrook has gotten, the less aggressive Griswold has.
You think?
I'm
Huh.
just thinking it almost started at the attack on Tribor, when really after the Wave Echo Cave portion and you guys got into it, he started fading back a little bit as Amrook got his boots and started jumping right in there.
Huh. So
And
you
that might
you
just be a
think
gut feel. That was the trending, what seemed to be the trending to me. I'm thinking back to that, and I remember Amrook being toe to toe with the Giants. I don't remember Griswold being toe to toe, and I feel like since then it's gone a step back
but I
and gotten
remember
more supportish.
But I'll throw it out there. I remember Grudhog and Amrook and Griswold being side by side in Grudhog.
True. Is that because you guys had to drop down right in the center of it, though? I guess it depends on which Grudhog we're thinking of.
Yeah, I was thinking upstairs, but you're not wrong.
And maybe that's true. I'm remembering. So when you guys came in the back the first time upstairs, that was the first encounter with Guh. And Guh, I thought it was Adrin and Amrook that were in the big room first, while the rest were hanging back.
Was Amrook's always there first. I mean, can't help it. Uh, but I think somebody cast some sort of fire spell that kept some others a little farther back. I forget what it was, but I remember the doorway like being on fire.
Yeah, it was a web spell
That's what it
that was
was.
then lit on fire.
That's what it was. And so I think that's what kind of kept them back, but I do remember Grizz coming up then.
Okay, perhaps. I just remembered Amrook and Adrin up there first. And then the second one, you guys kind of fell into the middle of it.
Yeah,
But he stayed
no.
up on the hillside. And then the third part of the battle went quick.
We kind of all work because we came down the ladder
Yeah, that
together,
was
right?
two.
Yeah,
That was pretty clumped up.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I think the transition was happening around then, because Grudhog was not too far after Tribor. I guess we have to go back. Arid. I don't remember the moves on Arid when you guys had the dream sequence there and what he did, or I had to go back in the Fire Giants on the path from like Silvery Moon when you guys were coming back and encountered them on the trail and where Grizz
You know
was.
what? I'm gonna say I think that's when it started to take place. You might be right because I remember thinking to myself, we have to get in these giants' faces because they're going to throw boulders, and I could
Yep.
not get him to go up there. I remember I was up in the giant's face by myself, so you might be
Yep.
right there.
Yeah, because it was right after Tribor as well. Whenever you guys were at the farm, they were just lobbing boulders. You guys were pinned back by the elementals. He was in the back line, and the giants were free to roam, and
Yeah.
they were just lobbing boulder after boulder. And there are a few encounters there.
So I wonder if that contributes more to this backline mentality of using the wand of magic missiles and stuff like that.
Perhaps,
Hmm. All
and
right.
perhaps it's been the fact that he started going toe to toe with something bigger and stronger than him that could attack and hit, put a little bit of fear into Grizz
You know,
as well.
I don't know because from Emmerich standpoint, he's always like relied on having someone else up front there in order to absorb some, at least some of the damage, and I think it puts
Yep.
a lot more risk if he's got to be up there by himself.
Oh, absolutely. It leaves Adrin or leaves Amrook hanging out there. And your risk used to be with Siddle and Adrin hanging in the back line, that they were exposed if you were ever flanked. Now it's Amrook being exposed in the front line.
Hmm. Yeah. Interesting. We'll see how the fights go. I don't know. We got to finish this one, and then we'll see where it goes. And anything you want to tell the viewers or myself about Frost Giants, or about what your thoughts are on fighting Frost Giants?
I have some interesting thoughts on it, but we're so early in the Frost Giant battle. I hate to monologue on it at all at this point, just because I want you guys to you as Amrook and anyone else from the team that does listen in on this after the fact to still learn about Frost Giants and be enthralled with how they fight differently than the others. And I want to try to bring some discrepancy between them so it feels like a unique fight compared to the other two. And the boulders are the go-to, but as we learned in this last battle, there are some unique sides to the Frost Giants that you have not encountered before. So just bring a different feel to the battle, and there's still a few tricks up the sleeve that they'll have.
For sure, right? Actually, Rusty and I were talking about that before you got on. That he was like, I was a little afraid of the fire giants, but he's not afraid of the frost giants. And I was like, really? Because I'm the exact opposite. I feel like each giant level we reach is another like fu, and so I'm just like I'm more nervous about frost giants than I was fire giants. So take that for what it's worth. And one more theory, and then we'll end it. So I have a theory, and I always like to bring a theory to this, and
I
I
love
don't.
your theories.
I have a theory that Harshnag and the Queen had a little thing, and that whoever the Queen of the Storm Giants found out about her involvement with the humans, or possibly her involvement with Harshnag, and um, you know, did something, and now that's the reason Harshnag hates giants. I don't know how true it is. I don't want you to confirm nor deny. I'm not going to ask you, not going to put you in that position, but that's my theory. And I try to think of like, well, why would he be against his own kind? And when you gave us the queen, I was like, Harshnag has a thing for the queen. So we'll end it on that
Hmm.
note. Thanks everybody for
We
watching,
shall.
and we'll see you this weekend.